here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's February 3rd here in Seoul. I'm Shin-Yun, and this is Arirang's new daily morning program, News Generation, where we make the news at Arirang's very own open studio. Every morning, we'll discuss the top issues and latest current affairs affecting people in their 20s and 30s. Joining me in the studio is Kim Xiang.
Good morning, Ian.
Good morning. And Niall Song.
Hi, everyone.
Cute hat.
Thank you. Speaking of cute, we're going to be talking about a lot of cute things today.
Yes, we are. So please stay tuned. And both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. Now, every day we do make a news feed for the new generation. We're looking at the top trending hashtags on social media over the past 24 hours. Here they are. The first hashtag is Black History Month. Did you know that February marks Black History Month? It's a month that honors the contributions of Black Americans and recognizes their sacrifices. It's something that was only first officially recognized in 1976, and many use this hashtag and pay tribute on social media to their most respected Black Americans. The second hashtag is K Semiconductors. South Korea's semiconductor exports dropped by over 40% in January compared to the same time last year. That's partly due to the poor sales performances from the country's leading semiconductor companies. Accordingly, the country's monthly trade deficit also hit a new high. Semiconductor exports are actually saying that they're the main drivers of South Korea's economy. The third hashtag is Generative AI. Generative AI has been growing in popularity among the younger generation, and that's why companies have been launching relevant services. According to the IT industry on Tuesday, the country's biggest portal service, Naver's subsidiary camera app called Snow, hooks some 600,000 paid users each day through its AI avatar. It's a paid function on the camera app which creates the avatar version of users using their selfies and photos. Now, why don't we dig a bit deeper into the last hashtag, Generative AI? Now, that right there, you can soon see on the screen.
Wow.
Who's that?
That is me.
Oh,
surprisingly, it is
like
me.
you.
It's my own AI avatar, and I
That's so
also
cute.
thank you. I also tried making one using Snow's AI avatar function. I paid around $4.
Good money for a new face.
Oh,
Yeah.
$4 for
It
one
is.
picture?
No, for 50 pictures.
Oh,
Right.
and good deal.
Exactly, and that's just an example of me using generative AI myself. So as we mentioned in our last hashtag, that is me paying around $4 to have a new face, a new character, an AI avatar of myself. And if we move on, we're going to be deeping into the topic. You can soon see on the screen Refik Anadol. He's the world's most famous Turkish media artist who blurs the line between tech and art. Anadol trailblazes by using AI as his brush. The artwork you can see on the screen are all made by AI.
Wow.
Anadol trained a machine learning model to interpret publicly available data to bring life to his ideas. Now, then who's the actual artist behind all these works, and does the copyright go to the human being with the ideas and the one who trains the AI, or is it the AI? I was so curious to find out, and I had to speak with a lawyer with expertise in AI ethics and regulations.
AI aren't humans. That means they don't have any copyright, but that doesn't give humans who train them full copyright either. It's not fair to say an artist produced original work when he or she is using AI. But it will be humans who are penalized once an AI infringes copyright because they're responsible for feeding the machine with data.
And legal discussions are still underway. Those hoping for more development in AI are leaning towards a more liberal approach, saying that companies or people that share their data and let generative AI off the hook on copyright issues should get incentives. But some others point out that generative AI is harming the livelihoods of traditional artists that may not have access to these handy yet pricey assistants. Now, if we expand our news feed here to the studio, what are your thoughts on this matter, Niall?
I mean, first and foremost, it's exciting to see how quickly and vastly technology is developing. And speaking of artists, one of my friends decided to make an entire musical using AI, say on Dokdo. They said, make a musical number, make a plot about a musical on Dokdo.
The entire...
Yeah, the entire thing. And it was
really
actually
impressive.
pretty good. But I guess the issue is that not everybody has access to such AI, and
course,
it's kind of talking.
Setup cost is high.
Yeah, and it's going into the realm of, is it actually fair or not?
Definitely. And Xiong, which side are you on when it comes to this matter? What are some drawbacks and areas of improvement when it comes to generative AI?
Sure. I mean, like the chat GPT we spoke about the last time I was on air with you, there are numerous generative AI tools that already exist today. But as you could expect, not all of them have positive impacts.
Right.
First of all, at the current stage, the quality of content created by these generative AI models is questionable. This, I'm sure, will improve with better algorithms in the near future as well. However, there are more serious implications. First, bias. Generative AI models can be trained on biased data, leading to an entire generation of biased content. This can perpetuate harmful stereotypes and social inequalities as well. Second will be moral and ethical considerations. Once a generative AI model has been trained, it is difficult to control the content that it creates. This can lead to generation of inappropriate or harmful contents. As we can already see with some tools like deepfakes and things like that, there are social problems that arise from the generative AIs. Lastly, as Mr. Sang-Jik Lee was saying, the intellectual property issue is a big issue as well. This applies to ownership and the control of generated content. And of course, as Mr. Lee said, who's a lawyer, there aren't any clear legal guidelines that are set up yet because it's quite a new technology.
Right. And
so,
and that's why we need to have more discussions on this matter for legal frameworks to form. Thank you so much.
Definitely.
That was our newsfeed for this Friday. Now, moving on, NewsGen discusses different topics each day. Here's what we have for you today.
This is Yebong. He's 12 years old and is very curious. This is Yesom. She's the youngest of my family. She's 10.
Nope.
Yebong and Yesom are more than just pets. They're my siblings. There are a lot of people who consider pets part of their family. A popular term in Korea is petmali. As of 2021, 6 million households had pets. The Korea Customs Service said that in 2022, the country's trade in pet care items reached an all-time high through September. The nation's exports of pet care-related items also piled up to $116 million, up by a whopping 56% from the same time in 2021. Officials are well aware of the country's growing love for pets. That's why the Korea Tourism Organization is even looking to launch tour sites where you take your pets along. Today, NewsGen looks at 3 questions. 1. How did pet culture form in Korea? Why are pets so popular among the younger generation? 2. What type of policies or infrastructure are in place to improve the country's pet culture? 3. What are some areas needing improvement? Are there any countries or specific policies Korean pet owners can learn from?
As we just saw, you saw my pets right there. We're going to be talking about pets and pet culture here in Korea, and let's find out if our panelists have pets themselves, starting with Nao.
Yes. I have 2 cats.
Oh, yeah?
And they're both adorable. I have one Scottish Fold and one American short hair.
it sounds
The Scottish Fold I actually adopted from a friend whose cat was giving birth. And then the American short hair, you guys can see it right there, the one in the front. I brought him home because his tail was deformed and nobody wanted him. And they have very distinct personalities. It's so fun. But, you know, it's not as much pressure as dogs because I don't have to walk them every single day.
Right.
So it's a little less time consuming energy-wise when going outdoors. Yes.
They're so cute.
They're adorable,
cute.
aren't they?
They're cuddly
Yeah.
little companions.
Yes, they
so
are. They're
cute.
adorable.
Right. And Xiong, do you have any pets?
Unfortunately, no. I love animals as well. I love cats. I love bigger dogs like huskies or golden retrievers as
Yeah,
well.
they're great.
But unfortunately, I'm allergic to cats. Severe allergic to cats, less allergic to dogs. And even though I'm allergic to them, if I see any cats, if I see your cats, I'll probably pet him, I hug it, and have my nose and mouth
And
tears running, eyes
cry.
swollen, sneezing every 2 seconds. But I still love them.
Yeah.
And another factor is that, I've been moving around a lot as a young professional. Even when I'm, staying in Korea most of the time these days, I do go on business trips now and then
Right,
out of town. And if I have a little puppy that I might be taking care of, I feel bad for not being able to walk it every day if I go to work and things like that.
It takes a lot of
It
responsibility
really does. It's
sure.
another life form.
But I hear that there's so many households in Korea that have pets. How exactly are there?
Right, I mean, coincidentally, yesterday, the 2nd of February, South Korea's Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs announced the results of the 2022 National Survey on Animal Protection. The online panel survey was conducted in September last year with a sample size of 5,000 Korean nationals. It was found that 1 in 4, more precisely around 30% of Koreans have a pet, and that the average monthly cost of raising one pet is around 150,000 won, which equals to about $140. According to the survey as well, 25.4% of pets were raised directly in their current residence, which may seem low, but given the rise in the number of single-person households in Korea, it does make sense.
Right.
Among the pet owners, 75% had dogs, followed by about 30% of cats, fish, hamsters, and turtles included in the list of popularity as well.
Right, and this is not only in Korea. I think that's a global trend.
Exactly. In the US as well, the exact same order applies with dogs, then cats, then fish. But they also include reptiles, interestingly.
Wow,
I think
yes.
they have bigger houses and things like that
Right, definitely.
in other countries.
And I hear a lot of the millennials and Gen Z are raising pets compared to the older generations. Why is
Right.
this so?
You know, I think it's because a lot of us get lonely.
Right.
Many people decide not to get married. Many people decide not to even have kids, even if you are married, and people opt for having cats or dogs or fish. And I think you can tell by the online market and how much it's booming with the pet products. And
Sure.
I heard that the people in their 20s make up about 32% of
Wow.
the market, and then people in their 30s is about 38%.
So 3 out of 10 millennials and
Right.
Gen Z buy all these products.
Yeah.
And that leads me to the second concept of today. Other than pet culture, there's
Sure.
this term called pet family, petmily.
Right.
And this is when we consider our pets as family and
Right.
wouldn't mind spending a lot of money on our pets because we find them to be our children or siblings.
Yes.
Now, as a pet owner yourself, have you ever done this now?
You know, it's unfortunate. This breaks my heart because I wish I had more money to spend even on myself and my human family. I would love to, but yes, they are family and we do care about their health. So I guess I spend money on things like, you know, probiotics or
Right.
like,
Right.
you know, things for their joints. And when they
Right.
get older and, you know, I got an
Their eyes
automatic
and
litter.
Right.
Yeah, so that it gets cleaned constantly. But, you know, some people do things like pet photo shoots or like, you know, they buy pet strollers, they send their dogs to kindergartens. Yeah.
And I'm sort of guilty of charge as well because I don't eat vitamins usually, but I always feed them to my dogs.
Yes,
Extreme.
exactly.
And I wouldn't eat expensive fruit,
Pets
but it would
first.
give
Yes.
pets first all
That's
the way.
so nice.
Right, and some companies are very well of how important
course,
our
yeah.
pets are, and they're providing relevant welfare policies, right, Sheil?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, one of the biggest concerns in having a pet is the related expenses. Quite often, you know, people say that cost of keeping a pet exceeds their expected budget as well.
Definitely.
In fact, according to the Korea Rural Economic Research Center, the domestic pet market is expected to grow from 1.9 trillion won in 2015 to around 6 trillion won, which equals to about $5 billion by 2027. The global pet care market is also expected to grow from US dollars of 142 billion, which is about 180 Korean trillion won, in 2020 to about $220 billion by 2026. New technologies such as Internet of Things, IoT, AI, and big data are also being applied to related products as the importance of well-being, healthcare, and emotional management of these companion animals increase in importance. Particularly in Korea, competition is intensifying as 3 domestic mobile telecommunications companies have entered the pet tech market in Korea as well.
Right.
Currently, 11 pet insurance products are in the market, but the lack of data collected for now limits the products that they can have coverage on.
Right.
I see. So the industry is definitely responding accordingly.
Definitely, it's booming.
Definitely. And all right, let's hear from a pet expert from overseas who also has something to say on this global pet culture. Now, as we mentioned, we're now going to use this time to hear from a millennial who's also a pet lover herself. It's Sila Moon, who's a certified canine raw food nutritionist here in Seoul. Great to have you here with us, Sila.
Hi, I'm great to be here.
Good morning, Sela.
Now, Sela, we mentioned the pet industry has grown exponentially in Korea. What's it like abroad, and do you think our pet culture or the way we treat or raise our pets is going in the right direction?
Definitely. I think looking back when I was young, the pet culture in Korea was very, very small. We fed kibble, but there wasn't much aside from that. The leash, we have very limited options.
Right.
And nowadays, if you look at the pet culture in Korea, it's expanded so much, even compared to other countries. But a distinct thing in the Korean pet culture compared to, let's say, US pet culture is that South Koreans tend to treat their pets as kind of like their fur babies. Although the term exists in other countries as well, we are more prone to clothe them in nice apparel and have nice fancy leashes that light up very techy stuff. Yeah, those are very different from other countries. There are a lot of hiking gears in other countries' pet shops, but in South Korea, we're more leaning towards nice clothing, and there's even a very thick fur coating for like the pets to go outside in.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I've
That's
seen them.
very different.
Right.
I always found that fascinating.
Yeah. And any two questions you guys might have here in the studio?
I mean, Sailor, I hear you do a lot of rescue activities and help find better homes for stray animals as well. And it may be a grim subject to talk about, but what normally happens to pets who are left with irresponsible owners?
Well, I have one adopted dog and two cats, and all three of them are all strays. And so what happened with my dog is that the previous owner had abandoned her in the middle of the street, in the middle of nowhere. And I ended up picking her up and called the shelter. And this was a Korean shelter that didn't euthanize before until like the previous month or something. And I called them and they said, since we have been running so low on financially, we had to receive some aid from the government. And by doing so, they had to euthanize certain number of dogs in order to keep the facility to a certain limit. So they asked me, could you please keep the dog in your house and wait around if the previous owner will come around. And that's how I ended up fostering my dog and eventually adopting the dog. So as you can see, if you lose a dog or if you abandon a dog, it will most likely go to a shelter. And South Korea is not although the culture of adopting versus buying is expanding, it's still quite limited. People want a new baby dog, not from the shelter. So
that's very
most
unfortunate.
of the dogs, especially if it's mixed, they end up being euthanized.
Oh, wow, that's so unfortunate. So what do you think is maybe needed for, the future of better infrastructure for pets and their pet owners? Is there any country that's doing a good job at this already? And if so, how can we learn from them?
We are implementing some policies from that mimic other countries as well, but mainly I think Australia has a really good pet system in terms of their pet taxes. Well, although it's not called tax, it's called a registration fee, but they have to pay annually. And South Korea, although it's mandatory to register your dogs, it is not mandatory for cats right now. And if we make that mandatory and if we put a big fine on it, like Australia does, and if the registration fee itself is that high, because in Australia, unneutered dog is around 1,500 Australian dollars per year, and they have to pay it every single year. But and if it's an aggressive breed, it's even higher than that. It's much higher. But it can be reduced over time after several years. If the dog didn't have any kind of accidents, it does go down drastically. But if we implement that kind of stuff, we can sift through the rightful owners and reduce the amount of dogs getting abandoned.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Seela. It was a pleasure to have you here and hear your insights.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sailor.
All right, and now given that we are a live morning program, we always ask our viewers questions related to our topic in advance, and we use this time to share with you what our viewers had to say. If you take a look at the screen, we asked if our viewers have a pet, and if so, how far they go to make their pet happy. Adrian Lopez said, I wish I could have a dog or a cat, but really don't have the time to take care of them. Priyanka Chaka Rabordi said, dog owners need to understand that not everyone shares their enthusiasm, and some are scared of dogs or are allergic to them. It's not okay to let your dog run without a leash in public. Raul said, I had a dog named Lola, and if you want to have a pet, you need to realize you need to take care of them, feed them, take them on walks, and wash them, but most importantly, love them. I think here in the studio, we can all relate to this, right?
Definitely. I mean, I definitely relate to a few of the comments as well. I'm an animal lover as well. I love people who have pets. I always want to hang out with them so I can get a chance to walk their dogs or something even. But that is a crucial problem. A lot of my friends are single household as well. They live by themselves. They work during their normal work hours. So they have to leave their pets alone at home.
Right.
And during that time, they do feel bad, but it's inevitable. And that causes a lot of concerns as well for the pet's general well-being.
Definitely. You need a lot of responsibility.
Exactly.
What about you now?
I think that comment about respecting those who don't share the same amount of enthusiasm we have for animals, while we do love them and we should protect them, there are people who are allergic, who are scared, and so I think, respecting their boundaries as well for,
Exactly, even having petticats.
Yes.
Exactly. Now, all right, every day we do upload questions related to our discussion topic for our viewers to answer. If you want to participate, please search Arirang News on YouTube and look into our community tab. The link is right below. Now, we've already come to the final part of our discussion for today. Very briefly, Xiong, what do you think South Korea's pet culture is and how could it be improved?
I mean, as well as according to the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs survey mentioned earlier, around 22% of Korean pet owners say that they have considered putting their current pets out for adoption or even abandoning them, which is very unfortunate. And the main reason was behavioral problems such as damages to household items and extreme barking. But at a similar rate, many said the cost of keeping a pet exceeded the planned budget as well. So to counter these problems, I have two suggestions. First, prohibit illegal breeding farms. And second, enforce strengthened pet registration policies, as Sayla talked about, including official microchipping performed by government authority to ensure that these pets are definitely tracked and well taken care of.
Right, and if I may add on, we briefly mentioned pettiquette, which is a combination of pet and etiquette. Make sure to have your pets on a leash when you're taking them out on a walk. And you're not the only ones who love them. You have to respect people who don't have pets as well. All right, today we talked about the growing pet culture here in Korea, and we'll be here every day from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you the topics that young people are talking about. Special thanks to Kim Xiong.
My pleasure, Ian.
And Niall Song.
No problem.
Now, thank you all for watching. We'll all see you next week. We are
News Generation.